तीन चालेल मम्मी असं काय रागात होईल की आपल्या शाळा गाभण राहिले
मी बरोबरी कोणाचीच करत 73 जण ऑनलाईन 73
किती वेळ झाला चालू 3
आता चालू झालंय
Okay. So last time I told you about the crystalline solid and also amorphous solid. What is the crystalline solid? Solid in which particles having definite geometric shape, definite geometric arrangement in three-dimensional space. That solid is called as the crystalline solid. So that solids are crystalline solid. Now what are the amorphous solid? Amorphous solid. Amorphous particle doesn't have definite geometric shape. Such type of solids are called as the amorphous solid. In crystalline solid, particles are orderly arranged, while in amorphous solid, particles are not orderly arranged. And this crystalline solid is anisotropic in nature. You know that. Anisotropic in nature, while amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. Isotropic, you know the meaning of anisotropy as well as isotropic. What are the anisotropic? That is different physical properties in different direction. And all physical properties are identical in all direction. So this is the crystalline solid and amorphous solid. And now next part is what is the unit cells. So unit cells means what? What are the unit cells? समजून घ्या मग आपल्याला पुढे टाइप कडे जायचं. युनिट सेल्स. युनिट सेल्स आपण काल डिफरन्स केला. काल लेक्चर आपलं थोडं थोडं झालंय. काय क्रिस्टलाइन अँड amorphous मध्ये डिफरन्स पाहिला आपण. Now crystalline solid, it is that solid in which particles are orderly arranged, while in amorphous solid particles are not orderly arranged. Crystalline solid is sharp melting point and boiling point, while amorphous solid melts over certain range of temperature. Then crystalline solid anisotropic in nature, amorphous solid is isotropic in nature. Crystalline solids are called as the pure solids. Crystalline solids are called as the pure solids, while amorphous solids are called as the supercooled liquids or pseudo solids. You know that why they are called as the supercooled liquid. Amorphous solids, they are also called as the which liquid? Supercooled liquid. Supercooled liquid. Why amorphous solid is supercooled liquid? Because in case of amorphous solid, yes, particles are not orderly arranged, and this liquid having ability to flow under gravity. Means, for example, glass is the example of amorphous solid. Glass, actually glass is solid नाही. Glass काय supercooled liquid. तुम्हाला last year ला मी शिकवलं होतं. Which of the following liquid having highest viscosity? त्याचा answer काय होता? Glass. Glass is the liquid. It is the supercooled liquid. Why amorphous solids are called as a supercooled liquid? See this. It is a glass. It is in hanging position. A glass hanging position मध्ये आहे for a long time. Uniform. At the beginning, this glass is its thickness is uniform. At the beginning, सुरुवातीला glassचा thickness काय असेल? Uniform असेल. But for a long time, it is in hanging position. So it flow under gravity. And at the top, it become thin. And at the bottom, it become thick. Means this is the glass which is flow under gravity and behave as a liquid. Therefore, it is called as the supercooled liquid. म्हणजे ज्यावेळेस आपण डिफरन्स देत असू, एका बाजूला आपण क्रिस्टलाइन सॉलिडला असं म्हणतोय, दॅट इज द प्युअर सॉलिड्स, आणि याला इम्प्युअर नाही म्हणायचं. एकतर काय म्हणायचं? सिडो म्हणजे डुप्लिकेट, सिडो सॉलिड, नाहीतर काय म्हणायचं? supercooled liquid. So remember this one: glass, glue, wax. Several examples of amorphous solid. Then our interest is only in crystalline solid. आपल्याला जास्त इंटरेस्ट कशामध्ये आहे? Crystalline solid. Now when you're talking about this crystalline solid, here particles are orderly arranged. Crystalline solid मध्ये मी काय सांगतोय? Particles are orderly arranged, and then this crystalline solid consists of number of repeating units, and that repeating units are very small, very tiny, and this is the structural part of that crystalline solid. मी आज तुम्हाला 2-3 वेळेस सांगितलंय. म्हणजे काय? What is meaning of unit cells? So what are the unit cells? Unit cell कशाला म्हणायचं? So unit cells, these are nothing but it is the tiny, means very small, structural and repeating units. Tiny. What is meaning of tiny? Very small, structural, structural repeating units of crystalline solid are called as unit cell. So what are the unit cells? What is the definition of unit cell? Tiny, tiny and structural, tiny and structural repeating units. Tiny and structural repeating units. Units of crystalline solid. Units of crystalline solid. Units of crystalline solid known as the unit cells. So what are the unit cells? Unit cells are nothing but these are the tiny, structural and repeating units of crystalline solids are called as the unit cells. Unit cell. So unit cells with various shape. या चॅप्टर मध्ये आपल्याला पुढे जाऊन डिस्कस करायचे. Unit cell, cubic shape. Unit cell are also in hexagonal shape or rhombic shape. Suppose मी असं म्हटलं, this is the unit cell. It is the one single unit cell. आपण काय म्हणू, it is one single single unit cell. Its shape is cubic. This is the this is the tiny and it is a structural and this is repeated so many times. म्हणजे crystalline solid साठी हे काय असणार आहे, unit cell. Tiny structural. This is also unit cell. This is also unit cell. Further, above this, below this, there is also unit cell. So it is one unit cell, it is the second unit cell, it is the third unit cell, it is the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So large number of unit cells are there. Large number of unit cells. Large number of unit cells. आणि याच्यापासून तयार होतो क्रिस्टल लॅटिस, जो पुढे एक्सप्लेन करणार मी. म्हणजे क्रिस्टलाइन सॉलिड, कुठलाही क्रिस्टलाइन सॉलिड जर आपण कन्सिडर केला तर त्याच्यामध्ये काय असतं, व्हेरी स्मॉल टायनी स्ट्रक्चरल रिपीटिंग युनिट. म्हणजे या क्रिस्टलाइन सॉलिडचा रिपीटिंग युनिट काय, क्यूबिक. म्हणजे क्यूबिक शेप आहे. म्हणजे आता क्यूब इज द एज व्हॉट इज दिस, इट इज द शेप काय, क्यूबिक शेल. काय क्यूबिक सेल म्हणजे क्यूब इज द रिपीटिंग युनिट्स ऑफ दिस क्रिस्टलाइन सॉलिड. येते लक्ष सर्वांच्या. सो दिस इज अबाउट द युनिट सेल्स. The types of crystalline solid. First, what is meaning of unit cell? Tiny, structural, and repeating units of crystalline solid, known as unit cells. Then, when we're talking about the types of crystalline solid, there are 4 types of crystalline solid. How many types of crystalline solid? 4 types of crystalline solid. Which are that 4 types of crystalline solid? In that one, that is the काल तुम्हाला 4 types सांगितले, that is ionic solid. One is the ionic solid. Second is the covalent solid. Ionic solid, then second is the covalent solid. Third is that is S, molecular solid. And last, it is the which solid? Metallic solid. Metallic solid. So these are the 4 types of crystalline solids, which are that ionic solid, covalent solid, molecular solid, and metallic solid. So ionic solid, covalent solid, molecular solid, and metallic solid. These are the 4 types of crystalline solid. Now let me explain one by one. So first is the ionic solid. First it is the ionic solid. So what is this ionic solid? Ionic solid काय असणार आहे? म्हणजे आता आपण फक्त काय डिस्कस करतोय, crystalline solid. What are the crystalline solids? These are the solids in which constituent particles are orderly arranged by definite geometric shape. जसं मी आता सांगितलं की unit cell, cube, infinite number of cubes are there. Unit cell चे 7 types पुढे आपल्याला शिकायचे. त्यापैकी one of the unit cell cubic आहे, त्यानंतर ऑर्थोरोम्बिक आहे, रोम्बिक आहे, then ट्रायक्लिनिक आहे, मोनोक्लिनिक आहे, हेक्सागोनल आहे. Various types of unit cells are there. मग आता मी काय म्हटलं, first type of unit cell, it is the cubic, then rhombic. आता त्यासाठी आपल्याला काय माहित पाहिजे, that is the type of, yes, that is the type of crystalline solid. So how many types of crystalline solid? 4 types of crystalline solids. Which are that 4 types of crystalline solid? One, ionic solid. Second, covalent solid. Then molecular solid, and then metallic solid. Now in that one, that is the ionic solid. Draw this diagram. Draw this diagram. Draw this diagram. लक्ष द्या आता. What are the ionic solids? So these are the solids in which constituent particles are ionic solid. What are the ionic solid? So ionic solids. What is ionic solid? The solids in which constituent particles are oppositely charged ions. Constituent particles are oppositely charged ions. So in case of ionic solid, constituent particles are oppositely charged ions. Oppositely charged ions. Which are the oppositely charged ions? That is the cations and anions. Cations and anions. And in general, in case of ionic solid, it consists of, that is the small cations and large anions. So small cations and large anions alternately placed to each other. म्हणजे ionic solid कशाला म्हणायचं? These are the solids in which constituent particles are oppositely charged ions. This ionic solid consists of small cations and large anions. Small cations and large anions which are alternately placed to each other. So that overall ionic solid is electrically neutral. Overall ionic solid is electrically neutral. Then nature of this ionic solid depends on one, size of cation and anion. Size of cation and anion. म्हणजे overall nature of ionic solid is depends on size of cation and anion, then charge on cation and anion, charge on cation and anion, and then as well as polarization in ions. Polarization in ions. Polarization in ions. It is about the ionic solid. Ionic solid मध्ये काय? What are the ionic solid in which constituent particles are oppositely charged ions? In general or in most of the ionic solid, so it consists of small cations and smaller cations and larger anions, which are alternately एकाडेक ठेवलेले असतील. And overall, their arrangement in such way that overall ionic solid is electrically neutral. Solid कुठलं ionic solid. Therefore, bond कुठला असेल ionic bond. As it is the ionic solid, bond is the ionic bond. And this ionic solid having high melting point and boiling point. Ionic solid with high melting point and boiling point. Then these ionic solids, that is pure and solid state, in solid state, pure and in solid state, they are insulators. Pure and solid state, they are insulators. म्हणजे काय? Pure state मध्ये ते काय असतील? Insulators. So in pure, that is in pure and solid state, they are insulator, but they are aqueous solution or molten state. Aqueous solution or molten state. Kai? They become a conductor. In aqueous solution or molten state, they become conductor. They become conductor, and this ionic solid is hard and brittle. Hard and brittle. Why it is hard? Because consists of oppositely charged ions. Therefore, there is very strong attractive force. म्हणजे ionic solid hard का असणार माहिती आहे का? It is hard. का बरं? Because it consists of alternate cations and anion. Why it is brittle? ते brittle का असणार माहिती आहे का? Because of absence of free electrons. Brittle चं meaning कळतं का रे brittle? मग ठिसूळ आपण लगेच ब्रेक होऊ शकतं. So ionic solid hard and brittle, and examples of ionic solid: NaCl, KCl, copper sulfate, etc. These are the ionic solid. So here we come consider the ionic solid sufficient high for your level. मग ionic solid साठी लक्षात ठेवा high melting point, high boiling point. In case of ionic solid, what are the ionic solid? Yes, the solid in which constituent particles are what? Oppositely charged ions. In ionic solid, it consists of smaller cations and larger anions, which are alternately placed to each other. Then arrangement of cations and anions are such way that overall ionic solid is electrically neutral. My net charge क्या असणार आहे? 0. My total number of positive charges is equal to total number of negative charges. The nature of ionic solid depends on 3 factors. 1, that is the size of cation and anion. Second, charge on cation and anion. And third is the polarization in ions. Then these ionic solids having high melting point and boiling point. Then ionic solid in pure and solid state, they are insulator. म्हणजे जर तुम्ही प्युअर सोडियम क्लोराइड घेतला त्याच्या ऍक्च्युअल स्टेट मध्ये तर तो काय असणार नाहीये? कंडक्टर असणार नाही. पण जर तो मोल्टन स्टेट मध्ये म्हणजे मेल्ट केला, लक्षात ठेवा, इफ इट मेल्ट, जर तो मेल्ट केला तर मात्र तो काय असणार आहे? कंडक्टर. म्हणजे मोल्टन स्टेट मध्ये काय असेल? कंडक्टर, आणि अदर स्टेट मध्ये काय असेल? इन्सुलेटर. ओके. किंवा ऍक्वेस NaCl काय कंडक्टर आहे. म्हणजे मोल्टन किंवा ऍक्वेस स्टेट मध्ये तो असेल कंडक्टर. अँड देन आयनिक सॉलिड्स आर हार्ड अँड ब्रिटल. व्हाय आयनिक सॉलिड्स आर हार्ड? हार्ड असण्याचं रिझन काय? cations and anions having strong electrostatic force of attraction. Why it is brittle? Absence of free electrons. त्याच्याकडे काय नाही येतं? Free electrons are not there, and due to absence of free electron, it is a brittle. Any solid become a brittle when free electrons are absent. Metals are not brittle. Metal generally metal काय म्हणता तुम्ही? सॉफ्ट किंवा हार्ड, पण ब्रिटल नाही म्हणत तुम्ही. मेटलला ब्रिटल म्हणतो का आपण? कधी नाही. मेटल्स आर नेव्हर ब्रिटल. याचा जो याची रेंज आहे आयनिक सॉलिडच्या मेल्टिंग पॉइंटची रेंज आहे 600 डिग्री सेल्सिअस टू 1200 डिग्री सेल्सिअस. म्हणजे याची जी रेंज आहे 6000 to 1200 degrees Celsius is the range of melting point of ionic solid. Is it clear? सर्वांना समजलं ते काय? Okay. And now second type of solid. The first काय? Ionic solid. Constituent particles are oppositely charged ions. Then ionic solid, they are hard and brittle. Ionic solid, they are conductor or insulator. Yes, in pure and solid form, they are insulator. They become conductor only when they get dissolved in aqueous means water, as well as they are in molten state. Molten म्हणजे मेल्ट झालेल्या फेज मध्ये तो काय असू शकतो? कंडक्टर असू शकतो. So remember, this is about the ionic solid. And now next part, our second type of crystalline solid is the covalent solid. Now what is the covalent solid? Covalent solid. Second type of solid is the covalent solid. Covalent solid. Now the zipa. Covalent solid. So what are the covalent solids? Yes, these are the solids in which constituent particles are ions. So what are the covalent solids? So what is covalent solid? Covalent solids example सांगतो. Diamond. Diamond मध्ये काय असतो? Carbon. Graphite. Graphite मध्ये काय असतो? Carbon. And fullerene. All these are the examples of what type of solid? Covalent solid. So covalent solid कशाला म्हणायचं? How many types of crystalline solid? 4. Which are that 4? 1. Ionic solid. Second, covalent. Third, molecular. And fourth, metallic. Now in case of covalent solid, solid definite shape and volume, and that is the mass. Covalent solid. What are the covalent solid? The solids in which constituent particles are atoms. Constituent particles are atoms which head together by covalent bond. And such type of solids are called as the covalent solid. Now when you're talking about this covalent solid, so this is the S. Suppose this is this covalent solid. काय शेप दिसतो तुम्हाला? काय शेप दिसतोय? क्यूबिक. मग हा कॉर्नरला काय? कार्बन. आता हा शेप आला क्यूबिक, पुढे बघा क्यूबिक. नंतर लक्ष देत नाही म्हणून मी अगोदर क्यूबिक दाखवला. ओके, सो दिस इज द येते लक्षात तुमच्या? देर इज अ कंटिन्युएशन. मग आपण काय आणू? कंटिन्युएशन. तिकडे काय? कंटिन्युएशन. मग इच कार्बन हॅव्हिंग हाऊ मेनी बॉन्ड्स? 4 बॉन्ड्स. प्रत्येक कार्बनला किती बॉन्ड असावेत? 4. And such type of solids are called as which solid? Covalent solid. The covalent solid. What are the covalent solid? Solid in which constituent particles are atoms which are held together by covalent bond. म्हणजे सॉलिड मध्ये कुठले पार्टिकल असतील? atoms. जसं की आयनिक सॉलिड मध्ये काय असतील? आयन्स. आयन्स म्हटलं की काय असेल? आयदर कॅटायन ऑर ऍनाइन. हिथं काय? ऍटम. आणि ऍटम मध्ये कुठला बॉन्ड असेल? कोव्हॅलंट बॉन्ड. And such type of solids are called as the covalent solid. And this covalent solid, here particles are held together by which one? That is the covalent bond. And therefore it forming the large structure. Therefore it is also called as a giant solid. Giant कळतं का रे? Giant म्हणजे काय? Large. It is also called as the giant solid, or also known as the network solid. Giant solid or network solid. Then in covalent solid, that is particles are held together by covalent bond, and these covalent bond are very strong. And due to this strong covalent bond, among all these solid, covalent solid having highest melting point and boiling point, किंवा highest melting point. म्हणजे आता समोर तुमच्या किती सॉलिड येतं? 4. त्या सगळ्यात जास्त मेल्टिंग पॉइंट असलेलं सॉलिड कुठलं? कोव्हॅलंट सॉलिड. लक्षात ठेवा, कोव्हॅलंट सॉलिड मिनिमम 1200 डिग्री सेल्सिअस, मॅक्झिमम 4000 डिग्री सेल्सिअस. म्हणजे सगळ्यात हायेस्ट मेल्टिंग पॉइंट कोणाचा आहे? दॅट इज द कोव्हॅलंट सॉलिड. देन दिस कोव्हॅलंट सॉलिड मे बी कंडक्टर और इन्सुलेटर. इट मे बी कंडक्टर. दोन्ही पॉसिबिलिटीज येतात. It may be the conductor or insulators. म्हणजे certain covalent solids are conductors, while certain covalent solids are insulators. This is about the covalent solid. And then these covalent solids are very hard. Covalent solids are very hard, and due to this hardness, highest melting point. Example of covalent solid is the graphite, diamond, and fullerene. Graphite, diamond, and fullerene. Mother example काय covalent solid graphite, diamond, and fullerene. Graphite is covalent solid. In graphite, carbon atom is sp2 hybridized. 11th झालेलं आहे. In graphite, carbon atom is what type of hybridized? sp2 hybridized. Then as it is sp2 hybridized, its shape is hexagonal. याचा shape काय? Hexagonal. And सगळ्यात महत्त्वाचं, due to presence of electron, it acts as a conductor. आता बुक मध्ये फक्त एक्झाम्पल दिलंय, पण एक ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणून सांगतो तुम्हाला. ग्राफाइट मधला कार्बनचं हायब्रिडायशन कुठलं? sp2. ग्राफाइटचं युनिट सेल जे सांगितलं मी, सिंगल सेल, त्याचा शेप काय असेल? हेक्सागोनल. ग्राफाइट इज इन्सुलेटर और कंडक्टर. कंडक्टर का असणारे कंडक्टर? ड्यू टू प्रेझेन्स ऑफ फ्री इलेक्ट्रॉन्स. ग्राफाइट इज कंडक्टर ड्यू टू प्रेझेन्स ऑफ फ्री इलेक्ट्रॉन. देन डायमंड. डायमंड इट इज द sp3 हायब्रिडाइज्ड कार्बन. Its shape is आता काढलेलं काय? क्यूबिक. In its shell काय? Cubic shape. And diamond is insulator. Diamond काय? Insulator. Then fullerene. So what is the fullerene? It is the C60. Fullerene चा formula काय? C60. C60 का लिहितात माहिती आहे का? 60 carbon atoms are at equidistance from each other, having structure like soccer ball or football. फुटबॉल पाहिला सर्वांनी, त्या टाईपचं जसं स्ट्रक्चर तयार होतं. आणि याला किती कार्बन असतात? त्याच्यामध्ये 60. आणि ऑल दिस 60 कार्बन आर हेड टुगेदर बाय विच बॉन्ड? म्हणून याला काय म्हणायचं? विच सॉलिड? कोव्हॅलंट सॉलिड. इट इज व्हॉट टाइप ऑफ सॉलिड? कोव्हॅलंट सॉलिड. सो ग्राफाइट, diamond, and fullerene, these are the covalent solid. Here constituent particles are as atoms which are held together by covalent bond. Then here covalent solid graphite, diamond, and fullerene. In fullerene, sp3, sorry, sp2. Fullerene मधला कार्बन कुठला? sp2. Then fullerene the soccer ball like or football, and it is the insulator. मग मला सांगा, कार्बनचे जे क्रिस्टलाइन फॉर्मचे ॲलोट्रॉप आहेत, इन्सुलेटर काय? ग्राफाइट, डायमंड आणि फुलरिन. या सगळ्यात ग्राफाइट काय? कंडक्टर. बाकीचे दोन काय? इन्सुलेटर. देन ग्राफाइट, व्हॉट इज यूज ऑफ ग्राफाइट? इट इज यूज इन प्रिंटिंग इंक. कशामध्ये वापरतात? प्रिंटिंग इंक. देन दिस ग्राफाइट, इट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ प्रिंटिंग इंक. देन दिस ग्राफाइट, इट इज ऑल्सो यूज as a lubricant. कशामध्ये वापरतात? लुब्रिकंट करतं का रे? which avoid the friction. म्हणजे दोन गोष्टी जर फ्रिक्शन होत असेल, तिकडे आपण काय ऍड करतो? लुब्रिकंट. सो which is used as lubricant? Graphite. Graphite act as a lubricant, printing ink, and this is the use of graphite. Then diamond. Diamond is one of the hard, or also known as the one of the hardest substance in world. Diamond ला आपण hardest substance समजतो. Then this diamond, where hybridization is sp3, but in case of diamond, that is it is used to cut the S glass. What are the uses of diamond? Diamond, it is used in making the jewelry. It is a precious metal. कसा आहे? Sorry, precious आपण stone म्हणतो, not a metal. So diamond is a precious stone. It is used to making the jewelry, and this diamond also used in cutting the glass. Glass cutting साठी काय वापरतात? Diamond. Is it clear? So which is used for cutting the glass? Diamond. Then this fullerene. What is the use of fullerene? Fullerene is also used to making the superconductor. Fullerene K35C60. लक्षात ठेवा फार तर फार नीट साठी. K35C60 याला काय म्हणायचं? सुपर कंडक्टर, की जो कशापासून तयार केलेला आहे? fullerene. K35C60, it is prepared from fullerene. So this is about the fullerene, and it is what type of solid? Covalent solid. So covalent solid is also in front of you. Then second type covalent. Third type is molecular solid. माझा ionic solid मध्ये constituent particle काय होते? oppositely charged ions. Covalent solid मध्ये constant particles काय आहेत? Atoms. आता राहिला काय? Molecular solid. So what are the molecular solid? Molecular solids. These are the solids in which constituent particles are as molecules, atoms, molecules. Atoms are molecules. Atoms are molecules. The third type of solid is the molecular solid. Which is the third type of solid? It is the molecular solid. Molecular solid. What are the molecular solids? These are the solid in which constituent particles are. Upon constituent particles. याच्यामध्ये जे particles असतील. Constituent particles are atoms or molecules. Atoms are molecules. Atoms are molecules. So constituent particles are atoms or molecule. In case of molecular solid. So what are the molecular solid? Constituent particles are as atoms or molecules, and this molecular solid is one of the soft solid with lowest melting point. सगळ्यात lowest melting point असेल तर तो कोणाचा असतो? मॉलिक्युलरचा. आणि सगळ्यात हायेस्ट मेल्टिंग पॉइंट असेल तर तो असतो कोव्हलंट सॉलिडचा. काही ठिकाणी आन्सर आयनिक सॉलिड म्हटलंय, ते घेऊन येऊ नका माझ्याकडे. मी क्लिअर सांगतोय काय, आयनिक पेक्षा हायेस्ट मेल्टिंग पॉइंट कोणाचा आहे? कोव्हलंट सॉलिड. Here constituent particles are, that is atoms or molecules. These solids are soft. So soft solid with lowest melting point. But when you're talking about this molecular solid, there are three types of molecular solid. याचे परत किती टाइप्स होतील? 3 टाइप्स. तुमच्या बुक मध्ये नाही दिले वाटतं ते, बट मी सांगतो. Which are the 3 types of molecular solid? In that one, polar molecular solid. Polar molecular solid. Polar molecular solid. Then B, non-polar molecular solid. And C, hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding molecular solid. काय म्हटलंय मी? Polar molecular solid, non-polar molecular solid, and hydrogen bonding molecular solid. Polar, non-polar, and hydrogen bonding molecular solid. So it consists of that is the 3 types of molecular solid. आता molecular solid कशाला म्हटलंय आपण? Constituent particles are molecules or atoms. मग तिथे atoms का म्हटलंय त्याचे रिझन सांगतो. मग constituent particles जर atom असतील तर काय म्हणायला पाहिजे? मग covalent solid म्हणायला पाहिजे की नाही? पण काय म्हटलंय ते सांगतो. आता polar molecular solid. What are the polar molecular solid? So polar molecular solid, these are the solid which consist of polar molecules, and under normal temperature these solids exist in gaseous state. They obtain or they convert into solid state only when temperature is lower down. म्हणजे नॉर्मल टेम्परेचरला कुठल्या स्टेट मध्ये असतील? गॅसेस स्टेट मध्ये असतील. मग लक्ष द्या इकडे. आता HCl हा काय असतो? गॅस आहे. बट बाय लोअरिंग डाऊन द टेम्परेचर HCl, then HCl, then HCl. So partial negative, partial positive, partial negative, partial positive, partial negative, partial positive. So this is the bonding, and this bonding is intermolecular bonding. मग या टाइपच्या सॉलिडला काय म्हणायचं? पोलर. HCl कुठला मॉलिक्युल आहे? पोलर. पोलर का बरं? चार्ज सेपरेशन. चार्ज सेपरेशन का बरं? Because chlorine is more electronegative than hydrogen. Therefore, electron pair slightly shifts towards or attracted by chlorine. आणि ज्यावेळेस हा सॉलिड स्टेट मध्ये आणणार तुम्ही, तो कसा आणणार आहे? बाय लोअरिंग द टेम्परेचर. आणि मग कुठल्या स्टेट मध्ये येईल? सॉलिड. मग या टाइपच्या सॉलिडला काय म्हणायचं? पोलर मॉलिक्युलर सॉलिड. Like that, SO2 is also polar molecular solid. And in fact, all these molecular solids are insulators. सगळेचे सगळे molecular solid काय आहेत? Insulator. All these molecular solids are insulator. म्हणजेच काय? Constituent particles are atoms or molecules. कळतंय मी काय म्हटलं इकडे? Constituent particles are atoms or molecule. मग it is what type of first? Polar molecular solid. म्हणजेच those molecular solid or it is the solid in which constituent particles are polar molecules. Under normal temperature, की जे आता आहे, under normal temperature or at normal temperature, they exist in which state? Gaseous state. By lowering the temperature, they converted into a state, solid state. And what type of interaction in this state? Dipole-dipole interaction. आठवत असेल तुम्हाला लास्ट इयरला शिकवली होती मी. डायपोल म्हणजे पोलर, डायपोल मोमेंट नॉन झिरो. डायपोल दोन पोलर मधले इंटरॅक्शन, पोलर मॉलिक्युल इंटरॅक्शन कुठले असते माहितीये का? डायपोल इंटरॅक्शन. त्यानंतर त्याच्यामध्ये नॉन पोलर मॉलिक्युलर सॉलिड, इट कन्सिस्ट ऑफ atoms or ions. आता atomicity माहिती सर्वांना, atomicity, how many atoms present in a molecule. मी जर म्हटलं मिथेन, how many atoms? 5. Its atomicity is 5. मी म्हटलं helium gas, what is the atomicity? 1. मग तिकडे constant particle काय असेल? atom. मग त्यामुळे मी काय म्हटलं, atoms or molecule काय तिकडे सेम. मग काय म्हटलंय? नॉन पोलर मॉलिक्युलर सॉलिड काय? helium, neon, argon, as well as CH4. So when they are converted into solid state, helium is non-polar molecule. करण्याची atomicity किती आहे? 1. One molecule containing one atom. मग इथं constant particle काय येईल आता? atom. Helium मध्ये constant particle काय येईल? atom. Neon मध्ये काय येईल? constant particle atom. Argon मध्ये सुद्धा काय येईल? atom. आणि CH4 मध्ये काय येईल? molecule. आणि what is importance about this? These are the non-polar molecules. हे सगळे कुठले मॉलिक्युल्स आहेत? नॉन पोलर मॉलिक्युल. आणि ज्यावेळेस ते सॉलिड स्टेट मध्ये जातील त्यावेळेस त्यांना काय म्हणायचं? नॉन पोलर मॉलिक्युलर सॉलिड. अँड व्हेन वी कन्सिडर दिस नॉन पोलर मॉलिक्युलर सॉलिड, व्हॉट टाइप ऑफ इंटरॅक्शन आठवतंय कोणाला? डिस्पर्शन फोर्सेस और लंडन फोर्सेस. एंट्रन्सला विचारतात, जिथं नाही ते 11वीला आहे. डिस्पर्शन फोर्सेस आर ऑल्सो नोन एज व्हॉट? लंडन फोर्सेस. त्याला लंडन फोर्सेस कशामध्ये असतं? नॉन पोलर. जरा 11वीचं रिवाइज करा. लंडन फोर्सेस किंवा ज्यावेळेस दोन पोलर मॉलिक्युल जवळ येतील त्यावेळेस डायपोल इंटरॅक्शन. ज्यावेळेस एक पोलर दुसरा नॉन पोलर असेल, इंड्यूस डायपोल इंटरॅक्शन. ज्यावेळेस दोन्ही नॉन पोलर असतील, लंडन फोर्सेस किंवा त्याला इन्स्टंट इंड्यूस डायपोल असं म्हटलेलं आहे. म्हणून लक्षात ठेवा, आतापुरतं तरी लंडन फोर्सेस कशामध्ये असतील? नॉन पोलर मध्ये असतील. आणि हायड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग मॉलिक्युलर सॉलिड, इट इज सिमिलर टू द पोलर मॉलिक्युलर सॉलिड. बट एस्पेशली आता SO2, HCl ला तुम्ही पोलर ऍज वेल एज हायड्रोजन बॉन्डिंग मॉलिक्युलर सॉलिड असंही म्हणू शकता. SO2 ला तुम्ही ओनली काय म्हणू शकता माहितीये का? सल्फर डायऑक्साइड इज ओनली polar molecular solid. It is not a hydrogen bonding molecular solid. So what is the hydrogen bonding molecular solid? These are the solids which consist of molecule as a constituent particles, but when they forming the solid, in between them, what is their intermolecular attractive force? And that intermolecular attractive force, it is due to hydrogen bond. Means hydrogen bond, intermolecular hydrogen bond. How many types of hydrogen bond? Two. One is intramolecular, other is intermolecular. For example, hydrogen bonding molecular solid. So OH. So what is it? It is the water, H2O. Then it is the dotted line. It is the dotted line. And this bonding is called as which bonding? Intermolecular. And such type of solids are called as the hydrogen bonding. Here constituent particle is water molecule. Ice. Ice is what type of solid? Ice is what type of solid? Hydrogen bonding molecular solid. As well as ammonia is what type of solid? Hydrogen bonding molecular solid. And in fact, all these molecular solids are insulators. So is it clear? What are the molecular solids? These are the solids in which constituent particle may be atoms or molecules. How many types of molecular solid? Three. Which are that? Polar, non-polar, and hydrogen bonding. Then dispersion forces or London forces, it is present in which solid? Non-polar molecular solid. Examples of non-polar molecular solid: helium, argon, neon, krypton, as well as CH4. And that is this molecular solid having lowest melting point. सगळ्यात lowest melting point लिहिलंय मी. कोणाचा असेल तर molecular solid. So molecular solid with lowest melting point. And last, in short, that is the metallic solid. So what is the metallic solid? So metallic solid is the solid in which constituent particles are positively charged metal ions. Here electrons, positively charged metal ions, metallic solid. So what are the metallic solid? Metallic solid काय? Metallic solid, these are the solid. Here constituent particles are positively charged metal ions, which are delocalized over large number of electrons are delocalized over this metallic solid. Means metallic solid, it consists of positively charged metal ions. Positively charged metal ions. This is M, it is electron, then it is M, positively charged metal ions. This is also M plus electrons, M plus electrons, M plus electrons. So here number of layers are there. In each layer, what happened? Positively charged metal ions are there, and that large number of electrons, also known as a sea of electrons. याला काय म्हणायचं? Sea of electrons. So large number of electrons, and this positively charged metal ions, which is also known as the kernel. What is meaning of kernel? Positively charged. So like separate term है kernel. What is meaning of kernel? Positively charged metal ions are also called as the kernel. And here these are spread in a sea of electrons. म्हणजे काय? Sea of electrons. Large number of electrons मध्ये काय असतील? Positively charged metal ions. And these electrons are free electrons. These electrons are free electrons. And due to presence of free electrons, this metallic solid is good conductor. Metallic solids are good conductors due to presence of free electrons. Metallic solid is hard as well as soft. Metallic solid is hard and soft. And metallic solid having different melting point. Lowest value of metallic solid, melting point of metallic solid is minus 39 degrees Celsius. And highest value is 3400 किंवा 3000 तुम्हाला book मध्ये 400 दिले. So minus 39 degrees Celsius is the melting point of mercury, and this plus 3400 degrees Celsius is the melting point of tungsten. So in metallic solid, lowest melting point shown by the metal mercury, and highest melting point is shown by the tungsten. Metallic solid मध्ये lowest melting point कोणाचा? Mercury. तो किती आहे? minus 39 degrees Celsius. Highest melting point कोणाचा आहे? Tungsten. Actually तो 3422 degrees Celsius आहे. आपल्याला रेंज दिलेली आहे फक्त minus 39 to 3400 degrees Celsius. And metallic solids are malleable and ductile. Metallic solids are malleable and ductile. Malleable and ductile. What is meaning of malleable? Making thin sheet. And what is ductile? To making thin wire. Malleable to make the thin sheet, and ductile to making the thin wire. What are the examples of metallic solid? Gold, silver, iron, copper, etc. Aluminum. These are the metallic solid. So metallic solids are good conductors of heat and electricity. Positively charged ions known as the kernel. Sea of electrons. Mata alaksha sarvancha. So these are hard as well as soft. And these metallic solids are malleable as well as ductile. And when you're talking about these four solids, so what is the order of melting point? Highest melting point, covalent. After that, ionic. After that, metallic. And lastly, molecular. Is it clear? So this is the correct order. And here we complete the type of crystalline solid. Now next is the lattice and a basis. आता हे understanding वरती आहे. What is meaning of lattice? What is the basis? We'll discuss tomorrow. Okay. Today stop here.